Hello, everyone. This is Raise Your Voice as part of the Fans First Sports Network. I'm your host, Brett Rutherford, joined as always by my good friend and co-host, Darby Robinson. We are live on youtube.com/@raiseyourvoice and also available wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to become a Raise Your Voice Patreon member, you can do so at patreon.com/raiseyourvoice for as little as $1 a month. Darby, the season's well underway. We're late in April. We had a very frustrating homestand that didn't end up in a lot of wins, and we're doing okay, decently 1-1 split on the road trip thus far. But I think the theme of this episode is going to be what are our vibes around the team right now, around specific players. We're going to do a Bucks minute. I know we might do a Lightning minute, maybe a Rowdies minute, and just kind of throw some ideas around. But I want to center the conversation around the Rays. But what are your vibes right now around the team?
Mixed. It's confused vibes. I want to say, because they're losing a lot. They're 4 games under 500 now with the win last night, with an extra innings win, like kind of an exciting, thrilling win that you don't expect from the team. That's, I think, the thing that's been the most frustrating to me is I feel like there's been a lot of talk about, this is the same old as the 2024 Rays, right? Same old. And it feels that way in a lot of ways sometimes, right? Because it's like these just like seemingly just uncompetitive games and there's just no offense, failing with runners in scoring position, Taylor Walls being still here and still being abysmal at the plate. Like there's like these things that are just like bad vibesy. The problem is, to me, is I just don't think that they are like the 2020. It would be very easy if they were just like the 2024 Rays. A lot of the same players. Like, maybe it's like, okay, this group of players doesn't work. But they're not the 2024. They're doing stuff that's completely different, but still finding ways to lose.
I can agree with that statement. I think the fear, if you're a Rays fan right now, you're fearing that this team was assembled to be just similar, maybe a little better than the 2024 team, but for a lot cheaper. If you're looking at this from like a cynical standpoint of not a lot cheaper, they shaved a decent chunk trading Jeffrey Springs. I'm not saying Jeffrey Springs is here to save the season, or Randy Arozarena.
If you've looked over at the other side, definitely not.
But it's like, oh, we could have Randy Arozarena or we could have Christopher Morel. And it's like, we could have, Isaac Paredes. I don't know what his role on this team would be, but maybe he'd be here over a Yandy Diaz, right? Or over a Curtis Mead for sure. And maybe he works his way. The lineup looks a little bit different than what it does today.
But then then I think here's the thing though. Not to step on your point, but this is the part that I think would be so much easier if it was like, if we had Isaac Paredes, we'd be better. But it's like, okay, but that just you mentioned Yandy Diaz. That's basically you trade Yandy Diaz and everyone's like,
who's due to make more than Isaac.
Yeah, that's the one you move to be like, we just don't want to say we want to save money. You would have dumped Brandon Lau and Yandy Diaz, 2 of your lowest performing players right now.
Aging.
Aging guys. Been with the Rays a long time. A lot of jerseys and a lot of jerseys out there of those guys. Yeah, you dump them for whatever you can get. Probably pretty good value too. And you save a bunch of money. Stu's happy and the team's probably playing better. But that's the problem is like they didn't because those guys should perform well. The team as a whole, the other thing that's been a big, that's the part if it was just like this offense isn't good enough. And it's like, well, that makes sense. The people you brought in like Danny Jansen, you actually spent money on getting the best hitting catcher available. He hasn't hit. And then your other big free agent is Ha-Seong Kim, and he's not here yet. That's just like that's your big free agent market. The issue is like you add the offense is performing by every metric besides runs scored really incredibly well. Like they are top 5 in batting average. Their OPS is top 10. Like there's a team that is hitting with runners in scoring position. But last night they had the bases loaded, no out, somehow didn't score a run. And it's come up with things like the bottom of the order, like Jansen, like Walls, have not performed. And then it's also been Brandon Lau and Yandy Diaz hitting into double plays or striking out. Uh, the first game with Arizona, there was many opportunities to win that game, and it's Yandy Diaz grounding into two double plays, or one double play, Junior Caminero grounding into two double plays, combining for 0 for 8. And most of the runners left on base were by those two players. And it's like you would want guys on base with Yandy Diaz and Junior Caminero. So I think that would be the other issue is like, okay, you get it, you turn it over to the bullpen. How many runs has this bullpen given up? This is one of the worst performing bullpens in all of baseball. And they did improve it. Like every it's so funny because every game there's like Mason Montgomery gives up a big bomb to blow the lead, but like all of his metrics like are popping. Like after it's like this is the best fastball and slider in the history of Major League Baseball, and we saw it go sailing over the wall by Corbin Carroll. Like that, it's
Corbin Carroll, who might be like
future Hall of Famer, right?
Yeah,
like it's very early, but like he's the type of guy that's going to put up some amazing numbers, eye-popping numbers.
And again, like health concerns, right? Like when he's healthy, this is what he'll do. It's clear that last year he wasn't healthy with the shoulder, and there's going to be other times in his career where the shoulder is not healthy.
Totally.
Like that's the type of player he is, and that's something he's going to have to manage.
And you got beat by that guy, and then you know, in this game they came back. He hit 2 home runs, and you still somehow won. I think that's the part that's made the vibes odd. Is that if you can pinpoint like this is a frustrating team because they don't have enough good players. The good players they have that they kept aren't performing. The bullpen that has the elite level stuff. This isn't a bullpen that is failing because like Colin Poche is getting lit up with his 91 mile an hour fastball, or like Tyler Alexander is being left to go on the vine, or even early Jacob Waguespack. It's Mason Montgomery with the stuff that is Aroldis Chapman 2.0. It's Edwin Uceda, who was one of the best relievers in baseball last year. Pete Fairbanks had an amazing game last night, but like it's Pete Fairbanks. It's guys that should be really good.
Mason Englert has looked good too.
Mason Englert's been he does not get counted on this because he's been actually great. He's doing his job. Yeah. Mason Englert, you're awesome. And Kevin Kelly, hope your ass heals up because you are also doing really well, and we miss you.
His literal ass. So,
his literal ass.
Yeah.
He has the ass strain. So, which is that does sound very painful, but
especially with his delivery.
It
feels like there's a lot of torque and pressure.
Yeah. Not great. Not great. So no, that's my feeling with the vibes is that the 2025 Rays might be like the 2024 Rays was very obvious to see what was wrong. The 2025 Rays are doing just weird. They're losing games, but in a weird way. Their Pythag win-loss record is still in the positive. It's like the second best in the American League East. They should be better. They are finding ways. They've lost 3, like in that homestand, they lost 3 games by 1 run. Like they've blown saves. They've blown leads. They had 3 games where they lost the lead in the 8th inning. They had 3 games where they lost by 1 run. 2 of them 1-0. So like that right there, they're losing so many coin flips, right? Like those are coin flip games. And so I don't know, like these are things that's like you win like maybe 2 of those games. You just flip 2 of them, and suddenly you now have a much different record, and you're like around 500, and like you're struggling. The other thing too is like we got to take a step back and look at this schedule like for a second, because I think that's the other part that we really need to like that we haven't really acknowledged is like look at these teams, Brett. Like okay, yes, started off you got 2 cakewalks. You got the Rockies, who are a mess, and then you got Pittsburgh, who's not a cakewalk actually. They're actually they're kind of they're a little rudderless, but there's a lot of talent there. And I definitely wouldn't call them a cakewalk because I mean, like you have like the best pitcher in baseball. Like you have some stuff there, but they're more kind of middle of the pack. You beat them, but then you have the Texas Rangers. The Angels have kind of come back down to earth, but you got them at their hottest, like red hot level. The Braves, who are minus Acuna, but like should be a much better team. They also got off to a slow start. Boston, New York, now it's Arizona. Up next is San Diego. Like these are all like playoff teams and division winners potentially.
In some ways, do the 2025 Braves remind you of the 2024 Rays? We're like holding on to some player types that were bound to not stop working on a year-to-year basis. You know, they're still without Acuna, who is like their guy. You know, the Rays have gone through that where they've lost their guy, right? Like not comparing the two situations, but we saw what the Rays started playing like without Wander Franco, and now the struggles of just not having a player of that caliber in your lineup. The Braves have been dealing with that with Acuna. They'll get him back. The Rays will not get Franco back. That's the difference. But in terms of their vibes, it reminds me, it's like some of these guys just maybe the clock has run out on them.
And like last season, the first half 2024 Rays is actually a pretty good comparison because you have like, well, these are all names that should be good, but they're just not hitting. And it was like Yandy and Randy and Lau.
It's fun. It's fun watching Sean Murphy have like a Mike Zunino season where just any ball he touches is going to be a home run.
Yeah,
he's a 3 true outcome, like pretty solid defensive catcher.
Yeah, which I do love. As long as you're doing one thing right as a catcher, I think that's really all you need to do. And
Jose Molina made a lot of money doing one thing really well.
One thing, one weird trick.
Yeah, have a cool party trick. That's what life of a catcher is.
It was great. That's still to this day some of my finest memories. I don't know. So overall I'm not like. So what are your thoughts on like going forward? Right. So like so far, like this is not the best start. April, I'm ready to be done with this month, right? And like with Arizona and San Diego up next, like there's a good likelihood that the Rays get like maybe one more win this month, maybe two. Like that would not be out of like left field. Like San Diego's the best, like playing the best baseball of any team in baseball, right?
I know, and eventually they're going to have to cool down, right?
Oh yeah. But
this felt like, and I'm still being optimistic.
The Angels were the team that like they were running like San Diego levels of hot, like, and now look at like Paris has like plummeted to earth. The rest of the Angels plummeted to earth just after.
Well, yeah, but we got the Angels at the crest of that wave, and maybe we're getting the back end of the Padres wave. It felt like this was the team that was badly in need of a road trip, playing the impact that has where you play a 13-game homestand and you're not at home. There is no comfortability there. There is still no comfortability there. I don't know if there will be this season. Like that's just something the Rays are going to have to deal with, especially as it gets hotter and more humid in those games. Just weird stuff happens. That's what they're dealing with. I think they needed a road trip. They're 1-1. I'm still optimistic about the rest of the week. They're on the West Coast. They're playing in different ballparks. That the Diamond Stadium, beautiful stadium, climate controlled.
I will say this. No offense to the Big Stein, but it does feel like we're playing real baseball again, being in like a real stadium. Like just watching it on TV. No, in the Diamondbacks.
Oh, in Arizona, Diamondbacks. Is it not Chase anymore?
Is it not Chase?
It used to be.
It used to be Chase.
We'll get a text.
Bank One ballpark. It'll be the Bank One ballpark forever for me. I'll never give up that one. No, it feels like they've done. Listen, it's a minor league stadium, and they did a great job of making it as close as possible.
Right.
But like seeing like Chase Stadium, like actually seeing like that, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, now we're back to like this is like real baseball.
And I think the teams will like the team will feel like that too. I think Rodney Linares, said on This Week in Rays Baseball, he's like, on opening day for a second, I forgot this was not a spring training game. Like that's just the vibes that they're gonna get, and it sucks. And again, very much out of the team's control.
This is nothing. Nobody's fault. It's just But this is a team that's going to be on the road for 162 games. Fundamentally.
And the Yankees, their presence in the stadium over the weekend, like that was painful to watch. And it's like that at the Trop, but with fewer seats. I think Yankees fans were buying them up, and it's their home spring training stadium. I think this was a big series that Yankees fans in Florida felt a lot of pride in going to. This is our park.
Yes.
You know, I think that is a very real feeling, and that was playing out at the ballpark, and that was painful to watch. Because I think in recent years there'll be a lot of Yankees fans, but it's not like it was 15 years ago when it was like 80-20 Yankees fans in the Trop. It is closer to a 50-50 split when the Yankees are in town. And it makes for, as long as people behave themselves, a great baseball atmosphere when the crowd is just roaring on every play. I don't love it in my home stadium, but it makes for a fun watch. And this weekend felt like, this is Yankees territory. And they were just taking care of business at home.
And that was a series that also, like, obviously the Yankees were heavily favored, but like the Rays pretty much held their own. They lost 3 out of 4, but they had the one win they had was this fantastic come from behind victory that was like probably the one they shouldn't have won. It was a very frustrating series. So it's nice to be in like Arizona, even though it's a road game. It does feel more like, I don't know. I feel like this team will perform better on the road just because you're in real baseball parks again. You are not having and frankly, like Chase Field works a lot better for like the Rays style of baseball. It's a pretty big park. Like it does, like the ball can fly in the desert there, but like it's a pretty big ballpark. There's a huge center field, big wall, so that's kind of perfect for Chandler to kind of speed down some stuff. It's obviously great for super speedy Corbin Carroll too out there. Like it does feel nice, and it'll be nice to go to Petco. Like the Rays went to the World Series at
a lot of happy memories
through Petco. So yeah.
I mean, Randy Arozarena, we don't have him anymore, but he owns Petco. Mike Brasso, can we get him? Mike Brasso's got to be a free agent, right, or a minor league deal.
He's got to be somewhere. Yeah, Mike Brasso.
You're telling
watch
me
out Mike Brasso for
Darby.
Watch the vibes go up.
You're telling me that you're going to San Diego and you chose Coco Montes over signing Brasso to a major league contract.
You know what? This is our WDAE moment, but this is where's our caller to be like?
I mean, Coco Montes is going to get like he'll start on like the day game.
Has he played there? He played with Colorado. He might have played it.
Mike Brasso is actually in the Padres organization.
Damn it!
A trade.
Oh, we can do it. Yeah, perfect. There we go.
I think a trade in who's the Padres GM? AJ Preller with Preller. We just come up with a trade with Preller. We've done a lot of business. Bring Mike Brasso to the Rays.
They got to be enjoying Jason Adam. Still hasn't given up a run. It's been one of the best relievers in baseball.
Yeah, and if you're in a holds fantasy league, Jason Adams been like one of the best relievers you can have. Mike Brasso is playing for the El Paso Chihuahuas.
Nice. Good for you, Bros. Get him on a plane. I'll take it. What other vibes do you got on this team? Because it is mixed, but it's not,
Yeah, I think I think there's a good question, and this kind of tails into where my vibes are at. Is I feel like this year more than last year, there's a lot more to look forward to.
Yes.
Watching games with Chandler Simpson's call up being first and foremost in that. I was a little bit shocked, but it made a lot of sense. You've got, guys that are going to need time to recover. This is a chance for Simpson to get his runway in the big leagues, even if it's not permanent. I kind of think it will be. I kind of think he's here to stay. I don't know what the Rays do if everyone ever at one point comes back healthy. We have 4 outfielders on the IL.
Yeah.
I don't know if that will happen this season.
I mean, it is true, right? Like, because we were looking at okay, well, Mangum you can't send down. He's been excellent. One of the best rookies in baseball.
Meisner, you really can't send down.
Can't send down Meisner, and what we need to talk about him separately. But he can't send down. DeLuca was playing excellent before he got injured, so you do want him back up. Richie Palacios comes back, he has a couple doubles, and then immediately gets hurt, and you're like, "Yay, Richie!" Oh no, Richie. So like, yeah, it's a good and then Josh Lowe is still recovering, and like you have a potential 30-30 guy there. But like you said, 4 guys on the IL. You know what? Maybe that problem will just sort itself out. Hey, I kind of agree with you though. Like when Chandler got called up for Richie's injury, I wasn't sure what like was it just like it was an interesting timing, like because he you're like, okay, let's give him some runway. We need him some time, and I was curious to see how he was used. There were so many hype packages, like the Rays social media. And listen, social media is separate from baseball ops, but oftentimes there is, you know, like Chandler Simpson is kind of a big deal, and maybe there's like a little bit of a heads up to be like, this is a guy. Like this isn't, like Curtis Mead, who was the top prospect, did not get this many hype videos. He definitely never got the MLB. Like they had like 4 straight days of a special, of a social media post about Chandler Simpson. Like they had one like 3 days after he got called up that was like, this is when he got a sac fly from second in college.
Chandler Simpson is already like enraging Yankee fans, and like
yes,
he was going to steal a no-hitter away from Max Fried by getting a hit. He got a hit.
Nerve, the absolute nerve of him
to break up Max Fried's no-hitter
with a single. What a jerk. Yeah, no, seriously, the gall of some people.
Which is this, but this is exactly the reason that you and I in spring training said, why not? Why not start the Chandler Simpson experiment right now? Now that we all see when he steps foot and plays in spring training, now that we've all seen it, you can't hide that from us anymore. We know what he's capable of.
And this is something that's interesting, right? So at first I was like, okay, maybe he's going to get called up, and is he going to be? So sometimes the Rays do this where they'll call up a guy, but he's like kind of on the bench, and you're like, oh, okay, he's not really called up. They're like, we kind of had to have a body. We had to have a warm body, but he has not been used like that. He has been starting like every game, even against a lefty. I think he had one game. Has he sat yet, or has he started every game? He's been in center field every single time.
He has sat.
But then he came into that game, I think.
Yeah, I think he didn't start on yesterday.
He did start. Oh no, he didn't start yesterday. That's right.
He started the 3 games before that in center field. He was called up.
He came in for the injury and then played twice. Yeah. But then he contributed yesterday. Like even in the game he didn't start, he ended up contributing. He's been playing center field like every time that he has been into the lineup. He's been up and down the lineup. Cash has used him in ways that is not just like, this is a warm body. We've seen the Kevin Cash, this is a warm body. The front office just sent me a guy, but I don't think he's a guy.
Well, that's Coco Montes, but I don't think he would do that with a top prospect.
I mean, that was Curtis Mead.
Yeah.
The last 2 years, basically. And like, right. I mean, that was Jonathan Aranda until this year.
Yeah. He's game changing though. Like that's like, and I don't know what it's going to look like, but I want to know what it looks like now, because I think if this team is successful, he is going to play a role in it.
He immediately adds an element that is missing from this club.
Yeah.
Whether he's at the leadoff spot or in the bottom of the order, like he is absolutely electric in like every sense of the word. And he is somebody I want to tune in for.
Yeah. And it's not even that. I mean, listen, Johnny DeLuca's fine. I don't think he is starting center field caliber for a team that should be for a team that's contending for the postseason. Could he sneak by if everyone else, like if the rest of your roster was just stacked? Why not? But for him to be your everyday center fielder, I've always thought that was a stretch. And I think Simpson, like you said, immediately brings stuff that DeLuca doesn't. And maybe you do take a hit defensively, but the tools that Simpson has, and not the arm. He doesn't have a great arm,
No.
but he can learn to track fly balls. He's the fastest man in the game. He can get to fly, like he will get to fly balls that Johnny DeLuca couldn't sniff, and Johnny DeLuca's really fast. So I don't know. To me, that one's easy. Caminero, seeing him have a full season, and I think we're going to get, he's going to go through highs and lows. This is going to be tough for him, but I think he's showing he has the potential to hit 30 home runs this season. And if he goes on a tear at one point through the summer, if the ball starts flying at Steinbrenner over the summer, who knows, right? He could go on an absolute tear. Catching position has been very frustrating so far. I don't blame anyone for thinking this didn't work out. Like the Rays made the wrong move. It's still very early and it could change. But I wouldn't blame anyone for watching the first, month of the season and thinking, yeah, maybe this year was a miss in the catching department. Who knows? They can make changes to that too. It wouldn't shock me if we see Logan Driscoll at points this year and maybe Trace Barrera or Kenny Piper. I think you could see some rotation through some guys that are in the minors right now. Jonathan Aranda, feel good about him.
Incredible.
Yandy Diaz and Brandon Lau. It's right now. It's interesting to watch. Like, okay, we're clearly starting to see the aging effects. Like these guys are in their 30s. We had talked about that. It's going to happen, right? Father Time undefeated. The question is like, how long can they hold on and can they keep their bodies healthy to get through the season? Because if October rolls around and you're in the mix, you want those guys healthy because they are the been there, done that guys on this team. We could talk about Brandon Lau's struggles, but not even Aaron Judge has hit a 2 home run game in the World Series. I don't think Shohei Ohtani has either. So Brandon Lau, best player in baseball, him and Corbin Carroll. I don't know. It's just like which of those guys can hang on, stay healthy, or both, hopefully. But they're playing a lot. The last thing I want to touch on, and I'll turn over to you. I feel like Kevin Cash might listen to this show. Jose Caballero is like the starting shortstop. Taylor Walls has been benched.
I mean, yeah, kind of.
When I saw Jose Caballero toss a ball between his legs to start a double play, I said, I am tired of being gaslit. I'm tired of being gaslit that Taylor Walls is just miles better than this man at shortstop. And it seems like finally Kevin Cash is listening, or he just realized it himself, because
there's only so much that Florida State love can go for Kevin Cash.
Exactly. Jose Caballero is like he's played 4 of the last 5 games at shortstop. And I don't know how long that will last, because we might have Ha-Seong Kim back in a month, but it's good to see now.
But you also now have Caballero, somebody who can be, you just lost Mangum. That's your right-handed outfielder. Caballero can go into there. Hit him with the Vince Carter, Vinsanity. It's over. No, I mean, like, last night Taylor Walls failed to turn a double play in a huge moment that could have lost the game. And it was a perfect feed by Brandon Lau. And listen, that will happen to everybody. It'll happen to Cabby probably like 4 more times than it'll happen to Taylor Walls. But it's so much harder to accept when it's from a guy who is here who can only contribute in one single way, which is the glove.
You had one job.
And one job. But that's the thing with Cabby, is that he's not like a butcher in the field. Like, I think that's the problem, that I'm like, I get it. He's not as good, but like, he's not, Derek Jeter in prime, where he can't get to the left. Like, no, like there are shortstops who are like, yeah, this guy is not that. Like Derek Jeter is, I mean, statistically not great, but like there's been a lot of bad shortstops in Major League history that have no business being there, and they've been some amazingly light batted, like shortstops who really make a difference. And I get that with Taylor Walls, but like Jose Caballero is right there, and I just don't think the drop off in defense is so significant that it outweighs the huge improvements in offense, in just like style, passion, excitement,
more enjoyable to watch.
Like not my blood pressure from watching. Like, yeah,
again,
like it's
My bold prediction for this, I think I said it last season, is that Taylor Walls will be a Los Angeles Dodger at one point soon, as being like just the on days where or innings where we really need a defensive shortstop, you're going in the game because the Dodgers have kind of been able to not like get by with. Are you still there?
I'm still here. Oh, you're back. Brett? Switch. Can you hear me? Let's switch to all right. It might be actually Brett that's internet's toast. So we're trying to get back in here. Okay. While Brett is trying to figure out that, I do want to talk about another person that's been like really oh, you're back. Perfect.
I think I'm back.
You're back just in time to talk about Cameron Meisner.
Oh, great. Okay. Just FYI, I don't know. It might not last. The internet, like, it was doing something weird earlier tonight that it hadn't done, and then tonight it just completely dropped me from the stream. So
Taylor Walls slander, and they're pulling the plug on you. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, no, it's definitely the deep Rays state.
Yep. Yeah. They're like, we got to shut these guys down. Enough with the Taylor Walls slander.
Here's the thing. I'm a Taylor Walls defender to other people.
Yeah.
You know, not everyone can pick on him.
No, he's ours. He's ours.
It's like, whoa. Have you seen his which metric likes him more, DRS or outs above?
All of them now. Okay, they finally broke. It was DRS that didn't like him for like the longest time, and then they're like, no, he's actually great. So yeah. I don't know what changed, what like they tweaked, but it was like outs above average really liked him, and like UZR really liked him, but then like DRS was like, he's not good.
Don't trust the defensive stats. They don't even know what they're doing year to year. So
they are. Yeah, it's one of the few times where like it's one of the metrics where you'd be like, yeah, it's all hokey. It's all just, anyways, we're trying.
I've been a Taylor Walls defender, but we want to talk about Cam Meisner. So let's talk about Cam Meisner.
It's more about what Jose Caballero does than anything else. But yeah, Cameron Meisner, another one of the huge like breakout guys on the team right now. And we are getting to a point where I think like you get to the point where it's like, this is not a good story anymore. This is now like, this might be a player. Like this might be a guy. And like, I think it's one of those things. I also could see him getting, I do. We've talked about this with this from Legos here. There's really not a much role on the roster. It depends upon who's still left, but like I could see Walls.
And now that he's not playing every day now, it makes more sense.
Yeah. for sure. So Cameron Meisner, it's one of those things where I think at a certain point we really should. I feel like we did not really take him for like seriously, and he really didn't have a ton of prospect pedigree, but he had some. And like this is a guy that was a first round pick. He was a comp round, but like
Yeah.
he
He
like
was
this is
kind
a
of
high
like
pick.
Josh Lowe light. Maybe
He
we
was.
wrongly viewed him as that, but that's how he was.
He was absolutely viewed as Josh Lowe, right? He's 6'4", 27-year-old,
Looks the part.
tools up outfielder with with too many strikeouts. That was his like kind of MO. But differently from Josh Lowe, he never really struggled with velo. He was struggling with kind of off speed. And he wasn't struggling because he was chasing and expanding the zone. He's always been actually very good at not chasing. It's a very interesting setup, but we are getting to the point where we have to take Cameron Meisner seriously. He is 27. He does have pedigree. And this breakout might be for real. Like we were chatting about it in the Slack today, but like, okay, he's over 66 plate appearances. K rate usually stabilizes around 60 plate appearances. Is one of the quickest stats to stabilize. He's at 15.2% K rate, about 10% whiff rate, which are excellent.
Yeah.
Like that's excellent. Now in the minors, he's struck out a lot. He struck out 30% of the time. He's also walked a lot more. But in the offseason, he had some pretty large swing mechanic changes. He put in a lot of hard work to fix some of his big issues. And when you're looking at a big mechanic change in a player that leads to really, really good results, when the things aren't so out of whack, the rest of it, like his swing rate is about the same, but his contact rate is just a little bit better. His whiff rate is down. He's swinging at the better pitches. He's making better contact, and it's all working out for him. Yeah. His BABIP is near 400, so that's going to come down. But in the minors, his batting average of balls in play was around 340, 350 most of the time. So you can knock off about 50 points on BABIP, and he's still a really good hitter. And his walk rate is about 6.5%, which is much lower. It's about half of what he's been doing in the minors. But a lot of that is he's actually, making contact. He's getting hits. He's not waiting around for pitchers to miss. And as that continues, pitchers will start to probably not pitch in the zone as much. And then the key there is
get the discipline
adjust.
back. Yeah.
Yeah. And the discipline's been there. He's got a ozone swing percentage of about 24, 25%. Yandy Diaz is at 27% right now. He has been more disciplined at swinging out of the zone than Yandy Diaz. Now, Yandy should be at 19%. That's his career rate, and that's where he should be. But like 25% is fine. He is not a guy that expands the zone and swings. He's not Christopher Morel, right? Or Jose Siri, who was at like 46% or something like that. So I don't know. I'm starting to believe. Hang the poster. It's Fox Mulder time. I want to believe, and there's some real smoke here. We'll see how it comes. Pitchers will start to pitch him differently, but the team has played him in the 5th and 6th slot most of the season. They have put him in he's basically been right into the Josh Lowe role, like 1 for 1, except for he can play center field a lot better. So like. This is an interesting. I think the team also believes in him a bit more than we might have thought, and he's really paying it off right now.
Yeah, no, it's been fun to watch. I think again, it gives you another thing to look forward to, and I agree. I think there is a lot of this that is very real. We're still early, and I don't want to look too much at the wins and losses, but I think it does come into play quite a bit. And the fact that they won, we said they should win 6 or 7 in that homestand, and now are they in a hole where it's going to be difficult to get out of? I don't know. Here, I'm gonna try something new here. Oh, look at that!
Oh, look at that! Here we go.
We follow along Rays and Diamondbacks here. Maybe I'm testing the limits of my internet by doing this, but it's working well now. But I don't believe we're infringing on broadcasting rights held by Major League Baseball, but I'll send you my address if you need to send a cease and desist. Anyways,
Yandy's not happy with that strike. He's
what is that? Are we gonna?
He's about to murder the umpire.
Just so our listeners know, and our listeners know that right now we are watching the 3D game cast of the Rays Diamondbacks game on MLB.com, and great reason to head on over to youtube.com/@raiseyourvoice, where when we can do this, we'll do this. I think this is kind of fun. See, but then you get weird stuff like that where it just showed Yandy Diaz
low emerging from the ground
on the left hand side of the box,
and then it looked like he lined out. He looked like he lined out, and now it's Brandon. Yeah.
No, now it's Jonathan Aranda. They forgot to switch it over in the last at bat. They were showing Yandy as Brandon Lau.
How interesting.
That's why Yandy was hitting left-handed and lined out to the first baseman. Anyways.
Oh, interesting.
I've got the regular game feed on here as well, so I'm going to be following both.
We're also closing in on the Bucks pick. We are. Falcons traded down to 15. And we got 1, 2, 3, 4 picks to go before it's
this is a good time to sneak in like a lightning minute too. Lightning are down 2-0. I'm not going to claim to be a hockey expert and say things I don't know, but Lightning are down 2-0 this year against the Panthers. They look terrible. Lost 5-2. Hit game 1, and I think this one went final at 2-0. It might have just been 1-0.
Both at home, right?
2-0. Yeah, both at home. So now you go to Sunrise. You're facing the defending champions, and you're down 2-0. That's not usually a recipe for success. Showing up to their building for 2, already down 2. So it seems like the Lightning season is over. They've had a good season. It felt like the things they did to the roster were good. Like they brought in Jake Gensel, and although it hurt a lot to lose Steven Stamkos, I think a lot of people understood why it made hockey sense. And I think it's proven that, like on the ice this year. Stamkos still had a productive season, but is nowhere near. Now Jonathan Aranda is the bullpen catcher for Corbin Burns.
Still with the bat. Still with the bat, though.
Caught that one with the bat. This is really fun to watch. And
what
shows
can he do? What can he do?
It shows you that the rope is Jose Caballero pitching now, or no? They're just going around the infield. The Rays defense is still behind Corbin Burns here.
Or Corbin Burns, yeah.
Yeah, too many Corbins. Who allowed the Diamondbacks to have more than one Corbin? That feels not right.
So the technology is not all the way there, we can say, for the game cast. It is pretty cool. I think it does do some pretty neat stuff, but it's not all the way.
We can change the angle. Nope, that's not what I want.
So when it goes to pitching, you can get the Rays center field camera angle.
We can get here we go. Action, fan control, batter, pitcher. I kind of like this one for a little bit. We'll chill on this one.
Something different.
Bucks. While the Bucks pick is coming up, Darby, you know me. I'm a big sports fan. There's a lot of sports I follow. You and I could talk for out. We could do another podcast on sports other, teams other than the Rays. I do not follow and haven't followed the NFL draft like really closely in a few years. Like I know Cam Ward went number 1 overall, and I watched him at Miami last year, and he's really good. I know Shedeur and Travis Hunter were the talk of this draft. But give me on the Bucks pick specifically, like what position are we going after? Who's likely to be down there when the Bucks pick in a few picks?
The Niners kind of ruined everything by jumping up to get Mykel Williams, who's a defensive end, who's very, very good. But he was also rising pretty quickly, so he was probably not going to make it down there. But that was definitely one that they kind of jumped over to get. I think right now they could go edge. They need pass rushers. They need corners, and they need a linebacker. Like those are 3 things, and they don't.
That's evergreen.
A lot. They don't need a lot. They've actually done Jason Light has done such an amazing job with this team that they don't really need a ton. they have a lot of things that like they could use a boost in. They've brought back so many players. Like this team is pretty well set as a repeat of last year's, playoff caliber team. So I think they're really looking good. There's talk about tight end or wide receiver because you do have Godwin and Evans getting older, but like probably a little later. But I think right now, first round, Will Johnson is still available. Cornerback.
Yeah, Will
out of
Johnson
Michigan.
sticks out to me.
That is a guy that I think would be, if he gets there, I think that would be really good. They could use a nice ball hawk corner. You could also see one of my favorite names in the entire draft is Jihad Campbell, linebacker who can do quite a bit. Jalen Walker just went to the Falcons, who is another kind of pass rush linebacker. So that
feels like this wide receiver class
bad.
is solid. Is that a bad take?
No, it's very good. It's so good that you had the Panthers went kind of a little aggressive with McMillan from Arizona, but like there's a lot of good guys. I think the wide receiver class is deep enough though that you can wait into the second round.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at like
and get some stuff.
Luka, Luther Burden.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Jalen
even
Williams
Matthew
is
Golden
really
from
good.
Texas. Golden from Texas is also pretty decent. Like, there's definitely some good. There's some really interesting guys. I think the Bucks are in such a.
Would you take Walter Nolan if you're the Bucks?
Wait, Walter Nolan. I mean,
yeah, the Ole Miss defensive tackle.
I just don't think they need inside. That's my thing. Is that I think inside they're a little bulked, and I think they're all pretty good. I mean, you have when healthy, Vea and Cansey are like your two best inside. The issue is you need to replace. I mean, it's going to be pretty easy to replace, but the outside linebacker / edge is just not there, and they don't have that. They haven't had it. Like they've needed that consistent rush. Yaya Diaby is a really good second. I think Anthony Nelson is a really good rotational corner edge guy, but without like that big pass rusher, it really does make it harder on the secondary. The other name I've heard as somebody that could kind of slip in there is maybe a safety, which maybe a little early for a safety, but you potentially could see that.
No way Will Johnson falls though here. There's no shot. 3 more picks.
It's been all over the place.
One of those teams will need a DB.
I mean, so I think Mike Green of Marshall edge maybe is an option. I think if Will Johnson's not there, Jihad Campbell is my next choice. I think it would be a perfect pairing with Levante and kind of be a huge need for them. It's maybe a little high, but I don't think he's going to fall any further than that. So I like that. If Will Johnson's not there, I think Jahdae Barron from Texas is also really good. He might be more of a safety, but that is a need. So I think you kind of just go sort of best player in a position that's somewhat of a need. So not go for need, but go for what can you kind of what can help in this rotation?
I gotcha.
So
we'll see. Yeah. I think we'll stay live until they pick.
That'll be a good one.
Definitely stay live until they pick. Rowdy's minute real quick. I know I promised at the beginning of the show that we got a little bit of news today that I think is very interesting about. I think this really is Rays news when it comes back to it. But I'll explain why. The impact it has on the Rowdies and the Rays. But it sounds like Mayor Ken Welch and the St. Pete City Council, there are some plans in the works, ideas by people to demolish historic Al Lang Stadium in downtown St. Petersburg, a stadium where many baseball legends have played, home of the Yankees and the Cardinals and the Tampa Bay Rays for a little bit as a spring training home. Stan Musial, Babe Ruth, like the greats of the greats have played. Like it's a big part of St. Petersburg's history and its baseball history, especially now that it's or was a major league city, and I think it will be for at least a couple more years. But plans to demolish that stadium, the current home of the Tampa Bay Rowdies, which are owned by Stuart Sternberg and under the holding companies that the Rays are owned under. So, in principle, he is the principal owner of the Tampa Bay Rowdies, and in Matt Silverman and Brian Auld also have control. They manage the Rowdies. That is currently where the Rowdies play. There has been something in the works for the Rowdies to extend their lease, which expires at the end of this year. I think expand it like through 2028 because the city of St. Petersburg owns that stadium. That seemed like it wasn't going to be an issue, but now all of a sudden there's these plans to demolish it and put an amphitheater. Some members of the St. Pete City Council, I think, were kind of vocal against these ideas. They didn't felt like the Rowdies were being kicked out. For me, it smells like people within City Hall in St. Pete being really upset with Stuart Sternberg and how he handled the stadium deal at the historic gas plant site, which fine, fair enough, right? Like you have every reason to feel hard done by Stuart Sternberg. And now it feels like they're playing hardball while Tropicana Field still sits ruined and needs to be either repaired or demolished, and the Rays bought out of that agreement. Now it feels like they're playing hardball with Stuart Sternberg's other entities within the city, first and foremost being the Rowdies, and toying around with their future home, which worries me as a Rowdies fan because at the end of the day, I don't think Stuart Sternberg cares about the Rowdies. I always thought that purchase was for any sort of leverage in building a stadium at potentially, hey, not only would you have Major League Baseball here, but we could also play, soccer, potentially MLS soccer, whatever he was telling local government at that time. And instead they might end up just being a pawn. He could easily sell the Rowdies. He bought them for like $12 million. You could probably find a buyer for the Rowdies. In fairness, the Rays have been, I think, really good stewards of the club. And the Rowdies have had a lot of success under the Rays ownership, made it to the playoffs way more than they had under previous ownership. So yeah, I don't want to see the Rowdies get caught up in that, but I feel like this shows that the relationship is just too far gone between Stuart Sternberg and local government in St. Pete and Pinellas County. And it makes me very worried about any progress being done on Tropicana Field. And it feels like there's way too much time between now and when the city is supposed to start repairs on the stadium for something to get messed up and the Rays to not return to Tropicana Field ever. Any thoughts?
I do worry about the hardball there. I do worry about this just getting more and more toxic and more vicious. And like, I do think though, it still is in the city's probably best interest to repair like this. But I think there's some interesting things like, do they get FEMA money? Will FEMA be a thing by the year's end?
I don't think so.
Like there's like some real world, and then like the cost to build it, is it going to be 50%, 100%, 142% more expensive?
Yeah,
to get the steel and glass. Like there is some really real world stuff that has changed that makes things more expensive for everybody to exist.
But that's the whole reason we're here. Is because maybe building a stadium is not a smart thing to do in 2025.
It's also probably not a smart thing to do when you also factor in tariffs. Yeah, I think that is probably like
right
now. It's like it's already a bad thing to do. Now, like, do you want to do it for at least 10% to 100% more in every single piece of this puzzle? So yeah,
but weren't the Rays? I think. I'm not defending how they handled this. We've had this conversation. I recommend if you haven't listened to our Stadium Saga episode with Danny Russell, you go back and check that out. But wasn't this what the Rays feared when the approval of these bonds was delayed until after the election?
Yeah.
That all of a sudden, once the election happens, this stadium deal overall, for multiple reasons, on the Pinellas County Commission with who they elected there and with what was happening in the global economy.
Mhm.
There was fears.
It all becomes worse. Yeah.
There were business fears.
Now, the Pinellas County Commission would probably say because they showed fear, that's why we showed fear. Like, I think it's like
Right.
it's a real like both sides are like both sides. I feel like didn't want to do this. At the
They
end
got
of the day,
cold feet.
let's be honest. I think both sides didn't want to do this, and they
Because
both won out.
neither side really fought for it in the end.
No, no.
There were
I
a
think
few
Ken
on the
Welsh.
council and the commission, but
I think
as a
Ken Welsh
whole,
really wanted this. And I think he might have been the only person.
no. Ken Welch was made to look like a fool by Stuart
Yeah,
Sternberg and the Tampa Bay Rays.
He really wanted. He worked really hard to do this, but I
This was
don't know if
political.
that,
This was either his
any of those
political legacy
commissioners-
or his springboard into maybe, other political aspirations. I don't know if he has any, but this was his big. This is what his mayoral tenure was going to be graded on.
Mhm.
And it still is, and he has a chance to maybe save it, but it's not looking good. And I don't think any of this is his fault. In terms of the bad actors that's brought us here, but where are we at now? Are the Bucks getting closer?
We're getting close. We
Okay,
are.
Walter Nolan
it
was
is
taken by Arizona.
by the Cardinals. Yeah, so it's
Um,
Cincy, and Cincy's pick is in. Seattle is on the clock, and then is the Bucks.
Gotcha. All right. Well, while we're watching Cam Meisner in the box here, I think it's still showing up as Caminero on the game.
He just grounded out. Yeah, he
but
just
that should be Cameron Meisner in the box. I was wondering, does Cameron Meisner does he have a legitimate shot at rookie of the year?
I mean, legitimate, yeah. I mean, he's been the best performing rookie so far. I think this is a class that there's no like super standout currently.
Christian Campbell feels like he could be that.
I think if Christian Campbell continues to, I mean, here's the thing, right? I think Cameron Meisner plays a premium position. So does Campbell. I think Campbell plays in a bigger profile. If he keeps hitting the way he's doing, then he absolutely could. I think it's one of those things where which is more sustainable. I think Campbell's really good. I think he has a really good chance.
Cam Smith.
Cam Smith is looking pretty good too. I just think harder to get it for a bat first guy. That's not gonna like he is good, but I feel like with Campbell especially, I feel like just might have a little bit more of an edge over the other two.
And Jacob
Pitching
Wilson.
wise,
You said Jacob Wilson.
I did not say Jacob Wilson. I don't think Jacob Wilson. Now has the name recognition, so maybe some
Yeah.
you got some.
I think
maybe
there's
got
interesting
some,
pitchers too.
Yeah, I think the thing with pitching is always where I feel like that can like take off and like really kind of win the day. But
I mean,
I'd say
Jackson
right,
Jobe, Jack Leyer.
if
The
with
volume
pitching
is there.
the problem with pitching is that like you're always a pitch away from like 2 to 3 months missed. So that's where it's like Christian Campbell can just he
They're not a
just
good
keeps
bet.
peppering the wall. Right now, if I had to put money on anybody,
Or Dominguez, Jason Dominguez.
I would fade Jason Dominguez. I think Jason Dominguez could put up big numbers, but like his defense is so bad that I feel like it's gonna be hard for people to do it. I think Christian Campbell right now would be the odds on lead. Zip's rest of season has Cameron Meisner as a basically 3-win center fielder, which that's very good. And that would absolutely, that would absolutely get you there. So I think he has a good case. Can we get a real refresh before the Bucks pick? It's the top 3 in rookie of the year that get or is it top 2?
It's finalists, so it's your top 3.
So top 3. Okay.
So is that an incentive for the Rays? And I think the Rays value those draft picks more than other teams. Those compensatory picks, they've maneuvered in ways to secure those draft picks.
They're huge
for a while. And so let's say we get to a situation where everyone is healthy. Are you if Cameron Meisner is playing at the level where he's a rookie of the year finalist, you find a way for him in the lineup anyways.
Yeah.
But does he eat more into the playing time of the Johnny DeLucas or the Chandler Simpsons or the Josh Lowe's Does he, not take playing time away from one of those, but does he come out of that group with the most playing time in the second half of the season, assuming everyone's healthy? 'Cause I think that's where we're headed, and that would be the incentive for the Rays to continue playing him.
I think he is the better version and reincarnation of Luke Raley. And you saw how they used Luke Raley. He was basically playing against every righty, and then faded against lefties. And that's been Meisner's thing, is he struggles mightily against lefties, but can mash righties. And you face more righties than you face lefties. So I think Meisner's somebody who would absolutely play against. So with DeLuca's a good example, right? I think DeLuca, you could basically pair him up as like a platoon, and DeLuca just gets the short side of that platoon. Chandler Simpson is kind of split neutral, and again does something different. I think this is something where like the playing time that gets hurt is like Christopher Morel. I think it potentially makes Josh Lowe an expendable trade guy. It's one of those things where I think you'd love to take that, but I think Meisner just he is playing and he is starting against every right-hander you see, and you're finding him into the lineup. But DeLuca, I think, is an easy one because sit him against a tough lefty, and then DeLuca can take that.
Yeah.
You mentioned Chandler Simpson, though. That's the guy we should talk about. Like we mentioned it earlier. If he's up for good, that is another dark horse to potentially win Rookie of the Year.
Right, because you could see some just insane numbers. Like I don't know what the rookie stolen base record is.
Yes, exactly. And stolen bases are a very flashy, very fun stat that will get people's attention. And Christian Campbell might hit a ton. He might be, absolutely hitting the ball off. But if Chandler Simpson's making some flashy defensive plays and he is stealing 50, 60 bags or more, and he's still hitting around 300.
Yeah, I don't think he'll break the record because Vince Coleman in his rookie season in 1985 stole 110. And that was with 151 games played.
Oh my God. Vince Coleman.
All time. If you go back to 1889, it was the first fast Billy Hamilton. It's crazy that we've had two Billy Hamiltons in Major League Baseball. Billy Hamilton in his rookie season for the Kansas City Cowboys stole 111 bases in 1889. And you remember those Kansas City Cowboys.
Must listen to go down to the soda shop and flip on the old radio.
They were fit. I don't think they were broadcasting games on the radio in 1889.
Listen to small street urchin describe what they were seeing through. I don't know. Yeah, what's
the Cowboys? Not to get on too much of a tangent, but let's look at their record: 55 and 82 in 1889. So he was just taking those bags and he's stealing bags and
nobody was caring. Nobody was caring. Yeah, it was all garbage time.
They should have a big. I think they had multiple guys named Jim and Jim Donahue, because Jim Donahue is a catcher from 1889. He was 5'6".
The tallest man alive at the time.
Steve Ledoux, John Pickett. These aren't real names. Chippy McGar. Chippy McGar. He was a third baseman. Of course, 5'9". I imagine him being a little squatty. Chippy McGar.
Chippy sounds it. Okay, Bucks are on the clock.
All right.
The Seahawks took a guard.
Oh, the big
Ray
guy.
Zabel.
Oh, they're all big guys, the offensive guards.
Yeah. These are all humongous humans. They're gray whales on land. They're just insane. One of my favorite things with offensive linemen is when they like retire and then they like lose half a human's weight just by not eating the like 50,000 calories that they have to eat and like in like full workout all the time. Okay, best available right now. Will Johnson is still available.
He's got to be the pick.
I think that's going to be hard to pass up. You do have Burden and Jody Barron. So you have wide receiver. You got other corners.
Matthew Golden is out there.
Golden's still out there.
Wide receiver would be very odd, I think, here. That doesn't feel like a Jason Light pick.
It does not feel like it does not, especially because you just restructured. You got Godwin back.
It's
You
going to
still
be an
have
edge.
Evans.
It's going to be an
You
edge
have
rusher.
Jalen McMillan. So if it's edge Green from Marshall Green,
Marshall Green or Mike Green.
it's Mike Green
from Marshall.
but from Marshall, but the special type of green is the Marshall Green.
That's the pick. I'm my official prediction. Mike Green.
I'm gonna say Will Johnson. I think he's sick of seeing injuries in the secondary and corners just getting absolutely smoked, just toasted by everybody. That's my prediction. We'll see. There's no real offensive lineman that you could take. Wide receiver just feels a little too flashy. Feels a little too flashy because next year you have your top 3 already set. Like Jalen McMillan looked great. You have your top 2. I just don't see a reason why you would go corner or a wide receiver early. Later, sure.
I think we're going to get an early pick as in. I don't think they're going to use the whole time.
Yeah, I think unless they could trade down.
How much time do they have? 10 minutes?
Yeah.
That's a crazy amount of time.
Yeah, people want to.
Didn't they used to do this in one day?
Yeah, first and second and third round. Well, I mean, they used to do it all in one day, but that was when Chippy McGee was playing ball. Yeah. Anybody
now every day is televised. Even in the baseball draft, they get to the point where they just start flashing names up there.
Yeah,
it's not even streamed.
It's the big difference though, and this is just like no other sport can really do this. Is with football, like your 6th and 7th rounders. It's a meat grinder of a sport. So like those guys are immediately playing.
Yeah.
And, like basketball, you just don't have the bench. So like even the 2nd round, you're like, I don't know. I'm going to put this guy in the G League. We needed a center in the G League.
We're going to take a 28-year-old that can play tomorrow, not a 20-year-old that needs to develop.
Yeah, it's like the NBA draft is like the first sometimes 7 picks are really interesting, and then there's 3 more players in the rest of that first round that are going to be anything.
Which is like you just see a lot more like role players in the NBA that just stick around for a long time.
Yeah,
and make a lot of money because their experience is valued.
It's very helpful. All right, pick is in. Pick is in. So okay, let's see. We will see.
Mike Green, that's still my guy. Why did they add more time to the clock?
I know they just added. They got more time. Now they took it away.
I didn't know if the phones weren't working or something.
The
Rays are down 2-0 right now.
Yeah, it's not looking good. Rasmussen's does not look sharp tonight. He's definitely way off his game. But he's been great this season. So he's kind of due for a dud.
Just great that we get to sandwich it between other duds from other pitchers.
Yeah. Taj Bradley yesterday pitched really a gutsy performance because he was not great early, but then really did a good job of like battling that game and like kind of improving as it went, keeping it close, like and like really setting the team up for a chance for success. So
why are they showing me Aaron Rodgers? Right? What station are you watching?
I'm watching ESPN. They're doing it to like talk about the Shedeur Sanders like falling, which I don't think this is much of a fall. Like I think he's going to
go to the Giants.
It's a very weak quarterback class. Like Cam Ward looks interesting, but the rest are very questionable. Like Sanders is fine. Like he's an interesting prospect, but like he's a good like 2nd round prospect that somebody's going to take in the first because like it's that and Jackson Dart. And then
is that all they've been talking about on the TV coverage is Shedeur?
Yeah. Now, once Travis Hunter went, they were like, I guess it's just
These
this
are the
guy.
two players. So
These are the only
man,
two
one's
players.
gone.
Cam Ward. They were trying to make it that like the team should have taken Shador over Cam Ward, and it's like, all right, come
And
on.
here's the thing: like Shador, I probably need to hold my tongue here a little bit. I don't know. Shador's fine. Very fun player. Travis Hunter, like
That's a star.
maybe the most talented person to ever play football. Like,
All right,
he
here we
is a
go.
Deion Sanders caliber player, I think.
Oh, they did go with Abuka. Did go wide receiver.
Emeka Ibuka?
Yeah,
Holy
interesting.
cow.
That is pretty surprising. I mean, great player. Great player.
And like a really good dude by all accounts during his time at Ohio State. That if you're
That's
going to go
interesting.
receiver, that's an exciting pick.
That is a very exciting pick. I'm wondering if Will Johnson, because he is falling quite a bit. I am wondering if his medicals came back really bad.
Yeah, that's possible.
Yeah, great,
crazy.
really interesting pick. It seemed like a bit of a luxury, but I mean, you got now like 4 excellent wide receivers.
And guys like Mike Evans is not 100% healthy. He probably will never be.
And Godwin is not
And
gonna.
Godwin.
He's probably gonna be a little delayed to start the season.
This feels like Ibuka could slip into a Godwin role. Like he's very cerebral.
You also
receiver.
are probably. I don't know if like is Mike Evans gonna when is Mike Evans gonna retire? Like he's kind of closer.
Well, he might be very close. I mean, as far as I know, like he's done everything he can do in a career.
Yeah,
right. Like he's guaranteed Hall of Fame. He's broken the records. He's won the Super Bowl.
Physical wide receiver, which grinds you down.
I like it.
Interesting.
I wouldn't have said receiver, but I think if you're going to go receiver, he's the best fit for the Bucs.
I think the thing for me with Jason Light is he has been given like infinite cred of like I will allow him like complete. He has that the Eric Neander level of like, you know what? I will see. I will absolutely accept this. Let's see.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, like you look at team needs. It's like, everyone always needs DBs and edge rushers, and everyone's gonna always want to add to those rooms and like every year. And it's like you have to look at, okay, the Bucs receiver room, like right now, one of the better ones in the league, and when fully healthy can be one of the best. But that's not always going to be like that because of aging and because of injury. So it's like, what are the team needs moving forward? Like eventually you're going to need to replace Chris Godwin for good. Eventually you're going to need to replace Mike Evans for good. Who can we bring in now?
I think also I will say this with Jason Light, and I think this is what makes him a really good GM, is that I think he does love to. I think he does not go for like this draft needs to I need to fit this spot. It's like this is, I think, a player that is going to be an impact player on this team, and it is going to be a thing that we're going to utilize. So like, let's just get him. Right. Like, I just I think he is somebody that will look at this and be like, yeah, maybe corner is definitely maybe a bigger need and a thinner position. But if you don't love Will Johnson and you're like, I think medically I'm a little scared of that. I'm not really there. And I like these corners better in like the 3rd or 4th. Like we just succeeded with Zion McCollum. We just, Tyke Smith was
special
just really
teams
good.
Player.
And you're like, I'm not going to be able to get this type of wide receiver later. Like that's the other thing too. Like we look at it and we look at this and we say like, like it's a pretty deep wide receiver class because they're all graded well, but like, what's available and you might use your pick. A lot of these guys aren't going to be available the next time you pick around. If you're like, the drop off to these next guys, or, when it comes to corner or when it comes to when it comes to what is it? Like edge, you're like, okay, maybe Michael was your top. You're never getting Abdul Carter. You're like, if Michael falls, that's our guy. He didn't, and you're like, I'm kind of so on green. Like, you don't want to necessarily do another project edge where you're like, we picked up an edge because we need an edge. Right. And I think that's something that teams do that's really bad often, is like, you go, we need this, so we got to take this. What I'm curious about is that Seattle's big talk was like, they have never invested on the interior offensive line. They've ignored it for so long, and they desperately need it, especially getting Sam Darnold. You need somebody that kind of like block. But then they did pass up on wide receivers, and they did just, get rid of DK Metcalf. And so that's going to be an interesting one to look at, because I think, like, for the Bucs, they are never in a position where they are necessarily taking the need right now. They are, like you sort of mentioned, like, you're taking wide receiver now because you're like, this guy, when Mike Evans retires and like maybe Chris Godwin leaves, you're not like, we got to take a wide receiver this year, and that guy is the best, I guess. And I think that's the part that I don't think you ever want to be in. It's like, I get you know what, this guy's okay.
Yeah.
And at this point, if you're looking at like the position, you're basically getting your choice of wide receiver. This was not like, this is a good wide receiver draft. A couple guys went, but not like, you're not like getting down to kind of the bare bones here.
Yeah.
Like, so
and I
this
think
is
there's
this
just
is
the
the
perception
third
of
wide receiver taken, technically, if you count, I mean, Travis
Yeah.
Hunter, but like that's
Hunter. But
he's-
we're not even
he's
sure that he's going
unicorn.
to be a receiver. And yeah, he's a unicorn.
he's
Unicorn.
potentially everything. He's a unicorn. That's just elite level prospect.
No,
Yeah, so
picks-
you have one. You're
Picks
the
1 and
second-
2 in the draft. Actually, picks 1 through 5, maybe even 6 in the draft, all make complete sense. Top quarterback needs to go number 1 overall to the team that needs a quarterback. That's why they are picking number 1 overall. Travis Hunter, maybe the most talented player in a long time. He goes number 2. Top edge rusher, top offensive tackle, top defensive tackle go the next 3 picks.
Mhm.
That's pretty chalk.
Yeah.
But I mean, the Bucs do their own research. They have their own processes. They have their own evaluations, and I trust them at this point. I trust Jason Light at this point.
100%. Yeah.
He, like the Rays, they don't draft very well. At least I don't. I disagree with a lot of their draft strategy. They have some hits. They have a lot of misses. It looks like recently they've had some more hits, and those guys are coming up through the minors. Carson Williams. We obviously have Brandon Lau, but so I don't know. The Bucs, Emeka Egbuka. Will we take a kicker at some point?
No, their kicking is great. I mean, a punter maybe, but no, they traded for a punter, so I think they're good. That was always Jason Light's only flaw was taking kickers and punters.
He's a little addicted to it. I think he.
But I finally Chase McLaughlin's automatic, like one of the
He
best
really
kickers now. They did trade for a punter, but like I think that probably takes that off the board.
So Will Johnson wasn't even the next DB taken. It was
Jody Barron.
Jody Barron.
Yeah, interesting. On a lot of things. So like the Ringer always has a really good draft coverage. So their big board had 3 guys all in a row. That's interesting. At 11, 12, and 13 on their big board. 11 was Jihad Campbell. 12 was Will Johnson. And 13 was Emeka Egbuka.
All right.
So like all in there. But do you want to guess what the shades of player comp they had for Emeka is? And it's very close to the home with the Bucs.
Very close to home with the Bucs.
Yeah.
So NFC South, is it like Chris Olave?
Nope. Very much on the Bucs.
Very much. Chris Godwin. Okay, another Chris. Okay.
Yeah. The other
That's
Chris.
what you close down.
Yeah.
Very similar. Like I said, very cerebral receivers that like can just get themselves into pockets of space and make crucial catches.
Can work it at a slot. Good blocker. So interesting wide receiver. Also, their second best wide receiver on their board. So, which I hadn't seen in a lot of other places, but I kind of liked him more than some of those other. I think it's a very Jason Light pick. So,
yeah,
very interesting. Love
and the
that.
Bucks have a lot of versatility in their wide receiver room. Mike Evans is. We're just going to put the ball over the DB's head, and you're going to catch it.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Godwin,
yes,
like I said, working out of the slot. Really good against the zone defenses and finding pockets of space and converting on big third downs. And then they've got their guys that are going to try to scheme open and use their speed to get downfield and unlock defenses that way. I think Egbuka definitely fits into the Godwin role, but I think he can be a home run type player too. If you need a big play downfield, I think that's exciting.
Yeah, I think really, really fun. I'm intrigued because it's not what I was expecting. They did need more help on the defensive side. So when you have a team like it is sort of like Eric Neander when they're like going like a bat first, first baseman. You're like, what the hell's going on here? I'm very intrigued. What's going on? Why would they do that? So
real quick before we wrap up, I wanted to mention one other thing. Two organizations that are very near and dear to me: the Tampa Bay Rays and the FCSAA, which is the Florida. Oh my God, I got to be able to make sure I get this acronym right. The Florida College System Activities Association. Of course, I need that. Announced today that the Division I baseball championships will be played at Charlotte Sports Park. This is JUCO baseball in Florida, the top level of JUCO baseball in Florida. This is a really incredible tournament that was supposed to be played at George Steinbrenner Field. Obviously, the Rays then moved there. They have a homestand during the dates of the tournament. So the Rays were gracious enough to allow the FCSAA to move that event to Charlotte Sports Park. There will be future major league players in this tournament. So if you're down in that area, I highly recommend going. I've done play-by-play for that event. Jose Caballero won that tournament back in 2017 when he played for Chipola College. Eric Orzi played in that tournament in 2016 for Northwest Florida State. The year I did play-by-play, Wu Yul Shin, who's a prospect in the Rays organization, he played in that tournament. Like, there will be pro ball players and major league ball players in this tournament. I think it's great that the Rays were gracious enough to allow that event to move to Charlotte Sports Park. I believe they're selling tickets through MLB.com, like through the Rays ticketing portal. But great event if you want to go watch some really good JUCO baseball from the top teams in the state of Florida. That is going to do it for this week's episode of Raise Your Voice. Thank you guys for listening. We've been live on youtube.com/@RaiseYourVoice. If you haven't already, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, turn on those notifications so you can join us whenever we go live. We're also still available wherever you get your podcasts, and on Apple Podcasts. If you could leave a rating and review, that really helps spread what we do to more and more Rays fans. If you really want to say thank you, patreon.com/RaiseYourVoice. Just as little as $1 a month, we would greatly appreciate it. As always, make sure to head on over to draysbay.com to check out all of that great Rays coverage. Once again, thank you guys for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.